Am I the asshole for putting my foot down with my mother-in-law? So my husband and I have been together for 12 years and his family is extremely religious and I don't have an issue with that. We are Catholic but his parents' mom to be exact are on another level. She goes to church 4 times a week, carry anointing oil with them, believe any priest on YouTube, push religion on me. I don't need 56,000 pictures of Jesus or Mary in home to believe in my faith. Now, when we have taken vacations and they stay with our dogs at our house but every time she stays she puts oils on my doors, writes a holy math equation on the door with crayon, and puts rock salt in every corner of the Windows house. She says it's all holy but I have asked her to stop. I don't believe in all of that stuff. I'm good with holy water and a Bible. She comes and does it behind our backs, then when I tell my husband he confronts her and says she didn't do it. My husband and I have had arguments over this. Today I discovered oil in the shape of crosses in my daughter's room on the walls to where it was dripping on the baseboard and carpets. Am I the asshole for wanting to put our dogs in a dog hotel while on vacation and take her house key because she can't be respectful of our wishes? If a direct approach isn't working, start calling them her witchy little rituals, or, you know my coworker is pagan and does the same stuff. Are you sure that's Catholic? My church never taught that. Not the asshole. Not the asshole. Please inform her that anointing doors with an holy equation and rock salt in windows are also used in pagan rites. She's dipping awfully close to the non-Christian side. Ask her why she is performing witchcraft in your house and watch her head explode. It sounds closer to that than anything that a Catholic priest would condone. Not the asshole. Not the asshole. Rock salt on the windows? Oil on the walls that's dripping onto the carpets? Bible, equations, written on the doors, walls in crayon? This is not religious, this is crazy behavior. She's free to do all this in her home, but not in yours. Plus, she's lying about it. You know, like Jesus would and the Bible encourages. Do not let her stay in your home unsupervised. Use a kennel when you take trips. I would make sure she doesn't have a key. Side eye at your husband, is he believing her when she says she isn't doing all this and acting as if it's what? A poltergeist that only acts when your mother-in-law is around. Childish evasion. That's not religious, that's nuts. I am Catholic and never heard of any of this. If she lied about, then she broke a commandment. How does she reconcile that? Am I the asshole for banning my wife's Disney Divorce Friends plugins from our house? My wife's friend Melissa, 49 female, is staying with us for a few weeks while she sorts her life out. We have a large home and are very happy to have house guests. She's leaving her husband after 25 years of marriage because she wants to move to LA and work at Disneyland. This sounds like the plot of a bad sitcom, but I'm afraid it's real. Both she and her husband are equally culpable for the failure of their marriage, and really bring out the worst in one another. Their relationship has been in a state for as long as I've known them. The problem is Melissa showed up with an arsenal of room scents and sprays, and plugins. The smell, teenage girl with a side of forever chemicals, ode to Disneyland, has completely taken over the hallway, the family bathroom, my office, and even down 2 flights of stairs into the foyer drawing room and living room. It's strong, it's nasty, and it's made of and smells like all of the chemicals that we avoid. Sidebar. We've been cleansing ourselves of chemical nasties, and have curated our home to smell clean and subtle. It's part of what makes it feel like home. Now it just smells like Team Spirit. Melissa is genuinely lovely and in a vulnerable spot, and I don't want to make her feel unwelcome. But it's our house, and this is something we've been intentional about. However, outside of our personal feelings about plugins, it feels really out there to rock up in someone else's home and decide to bring your own plug-in scents to totally change the smell of the house. I mentioned how strong the smell was, assuming it was a room spray, and how it was overtaking every room. She said, "Yeah, the plug-ins are pretty strong." I was so shocked I asked her to remove them. I opened up with a sensitive ask, "Hey, those room sprays are pretty strong. Would you mind keeping the door closed if you're using them?" And spiraled a bit when I heard her say plug-ins, plural. My wife told me I was being an asshole for making her uncomfortable when she is going through a lot, and that I could bitch to her about it was over the line to ask her to stop. I was incredulous that she thought it was okay to change the scent of our house. Am I the asshole here like my wife says? I feel pretty justified in my complaint. Edit. To address the frequently asked questions. The plug-ins are already gone. The conversation pivoted from, "Could you please keep the door closed when you spray the room?" to, "Can you please remove the plug-ins?" She apologized and removed them immediately. I also spotted, after writing this post, that the intake vent for the central air was about 12 feet from where one of the plug-ins was. This explains how the whole house got gunked up so quickly. The smell still hasn't gone 24 hours later. In the part of the conversation where the plugins were revealed, my wife informs me that my facial expressions were all over the place, a mix of shock and disgust. I maintained a friendly but firm tone when I asked her to remove them, explained my reasoning clearly. I capped the conversation by saying I hated the smell of them, which was unkind and deeply unhelpful. In my defense, genuinely do hate the smell, and I was so thoroughly flabbergasted that an adult would think this is okay to do that I made an unguarded comment. Not the asshole. She's making you uncomfortable in your home. Not the asshole. Most plug-ins give me a massive headache. She didn't ask anyone? Not your wife either? If so, not the asshole. AITA, and also, most likely if she's using the ones from Disney, they may be Sensi, who partners with them, and it's an MLM as well. Tread carefully, especially if your wife is trying to bend over backwards to help her. She may try to get your wife selling, by using her situation as a way to help her. Not the asshole. Your health and comfort, in your own home, are important. As someone with allergies and mild asthma, the struggle can be real with scents and stuff. She can tone it down. Not the asshole. Opening your home to a friend in need is generous. When you asked her to tone down the scents, a grateful guest would apologize and try to find as compromise that world for everyone. Many people are sensitive to perfumes, air fresheners and artificial smells. A guest needs to understand that the host's home is their safe place. Am I the asshole for not letting my roommate's friend into my apartment when I was alone? I, 20F, and my roommate Sarah, 21F, are currently living in an apartment geared towards college students, which we both are, together. Sarah ended up going home for the summer, and a couple of weeks ago, before she had moved back in, she called me, asking if she could let a friend into the apartment. I, assuming she meant into the building's lobby, agreed. For context, you need a fingerprint to get in if the leasing office is closed, which it was. I assumed the friend was maybe visiting another friend, and was honestly a little confused, but the request didn't seem too unreasonable. Sarah later called, explaining that she actually wanted me to let this friend into my apartment to stay the night, since Sarah had given her the key. I explained that I was very uncomfortable with this, since it was only me in the apartment at that time and I had never met the friend in question. Since Sarah was not there either, I didn't feel safe with a stranger in the apartment. Sarah got very angry about this and has been acting very passive-aggressive since that night. She denied that she was mad about it but will not stop complaining about various things she never had a problem with the previous year we lived together, the main thing being her complaining about me not cleaning up after myself, which I have been doing. Part of me wonders if I could have avoided if I let the friend in. I know Sarah thinks I'm the a-hole, but am I? AITA, it's literally your home too and you have every right to feel safe there. If you've never met the girl and your roommate wasn't even around, it makes total sense not to let some random stay the night. Like you didn't sign up to be a babysitter or security guard for her friends. Her being salty about it just sounds like she's mad you set a boundary, but honestly that's on her. Not the asshole. You did the right thing, and, even if the friend was Mr. Rogers, you shouldn't be asked to play host to her guests when she's not even there. I, assuming she meant into the building's lobby, agreed. For context, you need a fingerprint to get in if the leasing office is closed, which it was. From what you've written, it sounds like Sarah's friend wouldn't have been able to get into the apartment at all without your help, even if she had a key. The leasing office may not have considered possession of a key sufficient to let somebody who isn't on the lease stay in an apartment without a tenant being present. What if they steal, cause damage, etc.? She should have cleared it with you before telling her friend she could stay. Not the asshole. Not the asshole. Letting in someone you don't know who could steal or anything else would have been dumb. You don't have a temporary boarding lodge. She could stay with a friend, get a hotel, etc. Tell her to stop being passive-aggressive and talk to you. Let her explain her viewpoint, and then explain your very valid response. Not the asshole. Am I the asshole for not having over my friend's daughter who steals? My friend and I, both F in our 40s, have daughters around the same age, 10. We have been friends for 20 years, but the past few years our relationship has been strained due to our different political beliefs, parenting styles, and what I would call her paranoia. She once got mad at me for something I didn't do, but she assumed I did. She has told some of her close friends about her daughter's history of stealing. She has stolen quite a bit of money from several family members and shoplifted from a store, as recently as a month ago. Fast forward to a few days ago. I was having my friends over for a girls' night. My husband was taking my daughter to a movie. My friend texted to ask if she could bring her daughter. She said she could stay home with her older brother, but that they're not getting along. I asked my husband what he thought, since he lives here too. He asked if I could find a way to not have this girl at our house, basically unsupervised since the adults would be talking. I prefer to be honest and direct and not come up with a lie, so I texted my friend that my daughter would not be home and that we weren't comfortable having her daughter over given her history. I honestly expected her to reply, "I understand. Those are the consequences of her actions." She did not, and got very upset. She didn't come over, and I don't even know if we will continue to be friends. I asked my other friends what they thought when they arrived, if I was out of line. They said yes. They said kids make mistakes, I could have kept an eye on her, and, is there anything she could have stolen that's worth the price of a friendship? What do you think? Am I the asshole for not letting her come over? Of course you don't have an unsupervised child in your house, when that child has a stealing habit. Not the asshole. Not the asshole. Your friends are morons. I would not want the stress of having a thief in my house. However, why not have the child go to the movies with your daughter? It would have solved the problem. Is there anything she could have stolen that's worth the price of friendship? Would have sent me to the moon. Tears of joy, tears of joy, tears of joy, tears of joy, tears of joy. Absolutely? TF tears of joy, tears of joy, tears of joy, tears of joy, tears of joy. Not the asshole. Though I wouldn't have left this open for debate within your friend group. You and your husband made a decision and it isn't open for debate. I could have kept an eye on her, and, is there anything she could have stolen that's worth the price of a friendship? Have the next meetups at their house. Then the daughter can steal their stuff, since they don't mind. Not the asshole. Not the asshole. I get the girl is just a kid and 100% deserves the benefit of the doubt. However, it's obvious her mother is not parenting her right. If a 10-year-old girl is stealing money from family members and from stores, she needs some serious guidance and consequences. Kids learn through their parents what they can and can't get away with.